Anyone, what are some stories you have wanted to tell people but haven't had the right AskReddit question to answer? This story involves my name, so I'll use the obvious alias John Doe. I'm a man who has gone by my last name since I was 13. This one cute girl started calling me Doe and I just ran with it and it stuck for life. In my senior year of college, I was telling my best friend a story about a call I had with my mom, and, imitating her, I quoted her as saying John blah blah blah. He asked me who John was. Apparently my best friend in college thought my name was Dodo for over 3 years. My mom has always claimed she knows a George. Not necessarily that I wanted to tell. More of I was reminded of something today that I did many years ago. When I was in my second year of college, my dad was selling the house he and I lived in because he was getting remarried. One of his wife's friends, her husband was an electrician and had to do some work to fix some minor code violations for sale. This was the first time I met this guy, never had met his wife. He had keys to the house and wasn't expecting me, so he was kind of surprised when I came home. He was with a woman who was helping him. I didn't think anything of it. Couple of days later in that break, my dad's wife and I were talking and she asked what I thought of this guy. I said he seemed to do a good job, but I thought his wife was pretty fun. I said I also thought his wife was named something else, and when I said that, my dad's wife's face went pale. Apparently his helper was a woman he was caught having an affair with years before and claimed he broke it off. I inadvertently revealed this and blew his cover. His wife left him and it was this whole big thing. Strangely, I was blamed by my dad's wife and this guy's daughter for ruining a whole family. The wife in the situation ended up falling off the wagon and eventually dying of cirrhosis. The daughter was fucked up and into weird shit and dropped out of high school 2 years later to move in with the 40-year-old at 17. All because I came home a day early for winter break in 2003. Definitely not your fault, fuck whoever says different. Years ago my family had 2 cats. Susie would terrorize Guy all day, every day. She'd stalk and attack him, and his whole life ended up consisting of hiding. We almost never saw him. So the vet put Susie on Prozac, though it didn't seem to affect her. It came in handy when I ran out of Prozac one month and borrowed some of hers. A few months later, the vet put Guy on some sort of stimulant in hopes that it would prompt him to stand up for himself. Again, no noticeable effects. About a year later an envelope arrived in our mailbox addressed to Guy, our last name. Clearly assuming that Guy was a human, the letter, which was sent by a large legal firm, explained that the manufacturer of the medication Guy had been prescribed was the subject of a class action lawsuit due to price manipulation, and asked if Guy would like to join the suit. We replied in the affirmative, then forgot all about it. About another year later Guy received a check for around $150 for his legal victory. Mom used the money to buy him toys and treats. TLDR, my cat won a class action suit against a pharma company. I think this is my favorite story from this thread. Well over a decade ago, before I could drive, I was in the car with my grandma at a red light. Across the street was a Jack-in-the-Box and I could see the parking lot. A sedan drives up, like a late 905 Toyota Corolla, and stops. A man in a white gown, like a baptismal gown, gets out and goes to the trunk. He opens it and another man in the same gown gets out. They switch spots. The man that was in the trunk goes and sits in the driver's seat. Then the II turns green and we drive off. Reply give award share report save Lithenza 448.9 hours ago. This sounds like a random encounter in GTA or something. Love the simplicity of this story. MAO. A real life fever dream. My science teacher in 8th grade was talking to us about evolution and bedbugs, and how bedbugs evolved to become resistant to bug spray and whatnot. Then he whips a petri dish from behind his back with live ass bedbugs in it and proceeds to tell us we cannot under any circumstances tell the principal about this, because he'd get fired. Next thing you know, he sneezes really hard and drops the fucking petri dish. The bedbugs go everywhere, sliding across the floor. Then after we'd all finished screaming and freaking out, that little fucker proceeds to tell us that they're not bedbugs, they're sunflower seeds. Cheeky fucker. There was a guy called Nathan that used to go to our school. He was pretty chill but had this thing where he would slide down the stairs on a wet floor sign. One time he literally made a slip and slide by flooding the toilets until water flowed down the stairs and slid down on the wet floor sign. Oh my god, I don't even know how I feel about this story, but I laughed. What does it mean? My friend and I were in welding class and I filled up a small trash bag with oxyacetylene mix when he wasn't looking and set it off behind him. Big bang. Big laugh, haha. Yeah, well apparently I shouldn't have showed this to my friend because the next day this fucking idiot friend of mine found a small crack hole about the size of a quarter in the cinder block wall in our class. Stuck his unlit torch in there and just pumped gas wide open inside. After a while, he gets my attention, goes watch this, pulls his striker from his pocket and lights it right next to the hole in the wall. Fucking boom. This kid blew a 5-foot hole clean into the other classroom. As a person currently taking a high school welding class, the dumbasses in my class scare the shit out of me. They turn their acetylene torch valves all the way, proceed to leave it running while they talk, then they light it with a friend's torch. This has led to my hair almost being burnt off because I am leaning over my weld to concentrate, until a sudden boom of the acetylene being lit in front of my face makes me jump back at it. Another little story. The person next to my booth lit himself on fire. The smell of burning cloth is not pleasant. Edit 2. For your information, our booths are metal rolling tables placed side by side, separated and covered by small bricks. The smell that is produced from the flame burning the bricks is not pleasant either. My mother and her best friend, S, lost contact for about 10 years. One morning, unannounced, S showed up at her door. My mother was thrilled. They sat and had coffee, chatted for a couple hours. After a while S said, "Don't you want to ask me something?" My mother was surprised and said, "No, you look great." S said, "Yes, I'm well." Mum said, "I like your new haircut." S said, "Yes, I shaved my head." My mother nodded, confused. S said, "And I'm wearing sandals and saffro. I'm a Buddhist nun." My mother had not noticed. The mom was focused on seeing her friend, not on what she was wearing, which is nice. My friend Ben rode to and from high school with me every day, like clockwork. We saw the same guy drive past us on the same road. He drove an old Chevy truck, prob an 80s model with a single cab. He always had his dog, this German Shepherd, who would be sitting in the passenger's seat. One day, coming home from school, we passed the guy, but when I looked, the dog was in the driver's seat, and the guy was riding shotgun. I turned to Ben and he immediately said, "Yeah, what the fuck? You saw that too?" Imagination. Brain fart. IDK. But I swear I saw that dog driving. This sounds similar to a story a lady tells on the Mystery Show podcast. She was a 911 dispatcher and got a call that a German Shepherd was driving a car and apparently a guy had taught his dog to steer while he pressed the gas pedal. My dad almost got snatched up by serial killer Bob Badella. My dad missed the bus and was walking to school when Bob pulled up and asked if my dad wanted a ride. His dumbass was about to get in when he saw gay porno mags on the floor, so he noped out, thank God. When he saw the guy finally get caught on TV, he recognized it was him. My friend's uncle almost got swiped by Jeffrey Dahmer. He was telling me he was driving around and a guy said he was lost and he offered to drive him home. He had some of the best conversations with him and he was one of the nicest guys he met. Once he got back to his apartment, Jeffrey asked him to come inside and have a snack. He didn't want to initially, but he went in. He offered him a soda and when Jeffrey opened it, it didn't make the right sound of gas releasing. My friend's uncle said his wife was making dinner and Jeffrey said that's alright, shook his hand and thanked him for driving him home. He forgot about it and a year later he saw him on TV. Edit. Just think about that, where he grabbed the soda from. Right above in the freezer was body parts and probably a dead guy in his bathtub. One time I was at the store, buying party supplies for a Christmas Eve party. You can imagine the store was packed because it was Christmas time. I hate crowded stores. One thing I had to get for my mom was a pack of ginger ale cans. I went to the self-checkout and the sticker for the pack of cans was on the top of the pack. I awkwardly rolled the pack over on the scanner to scan the barcode and a single can fell out onto the floor of the store. As it hit the ground, a tiny hole busted open between the body of the can and the seam of the top of the can. A small pressurized stream of ginger ale was projecting out of the can as it began to roll away. Like a ginger ale sprinkler, it rolled down the alley of self-checkouts. misting all the Christmas Eve shoppers with ginger ale as the clerk had to chase it down the queue of people waiting to check out. It was quite embarrassing. I'm a cashier at a grocery store. There are these bars at the end of the conveyor belt that are supposed to direct the groceries closer to where they get rang. Essentially because otherwise some would go behind the scanner. They crush everything. I've had the stupid thing break eggs, crush bread, etc. If it can be damaged, this thing will do it. My favorite is when it punctured 3 out of 6 cans in a 6-pack. Imagine your one connects 3 and then put it in a busy grocery store line. Everyone within like a 10-foot range got Vernors on them before I was able to wrestle the hissing, spewing monster into a bag to stop it the best I could. The lady was just embarrassed, but there were quite a few people who were very, very unhappy.